What if there was a way to predictably scale your next campaign on cold traffic so it's not just converting today, tomorrow, or next month, but 5 years from now too? Wouldn't you want to know how? Because if so, this just might be the most important video you watch all year. My name is Mark Pachetti. I've been a professional copywriter for the last 15 years, and I produce millions in profits for companies that span across every imaginable vertical. Niches such as health and supplements, dating, self-improvement, MMO, digital marketing, finance, and many, many more. It's my journey as a copywriter that has opened my eyes to how to easily connect with all types of people and their specific problems. I'll get to that in a minute. Now, in the last few years, I've watched as the digital agency model rose up the ranks of advertising. I asked myself, why are more entrepreneurs than ever feeling confident in going with these digital marketing agencies rather than proven freelancers like myself? So, out of curiosity, in late 2019, I accepted a head of copywriting position at one of these top digital agencies. I won't lie. It almost felt like I was playing an undercover role in some sort of spy movie. This place was just a mess, albeit full of amazing cool peeps. Clients were procured by the gallivanting owner, a guy who projects the facade of success, and yet is obviously more interested in his own numbers than the next best move for his clients. A quick aside, I don't even doubt that this man wants to help entrepreneurs, especially his top big name clients. But when you're being pulled in an impossible amount of directions simultaneously, it's hard to focus on the single thing that matters the most: getting scalable results. All that said, here's what didn't sit well with me. This young, charismatic entrepreneur and copywriter himself roped clients into the agency by hyping up his copywriters and creative team. Copywriters who are absolutely nameless on his own website. But when it actually came down to writing copy for the clients, there was zero leadership. It was just, here, get something out and do it as quickly as possible. Even worse, they wanted me to base the majority of my research time on simple one-page spec sheets. Now, as a veteran copywriter, I could appreciate the position of wanting to get the most done in the fastest amount of time. I could appreciate the positive intention behind the owner's vision. But his execution was very, very different than advertised. Sort of goes without saying, that's how the majority of these digital agencies function. They're not actually designed to help clients achieve the highest possible conversions in the most effective, quickest way possible. No, their business models are set up in a completely different way. So instead, these agencies try to squeeze as much money from a contract as they can while only incrementally improving the creative. Well, guess what? I quit after just 1 week. And that's only one of the critical issues that forced me to, throw in the towel. I'll reveal how these agencies aren't on your side in just a minute. But first, how did this happen? I mean, why are digital agencies winning the perception war of being the #1 place for entrepreneurs to go for launching their new creative? After all, copy is still king, right? In other words, without very specific copy that reflects the brand, offer, and campaign in a way that emotionally connects with the people you want to help, nobody makes the kind of profits we should be aiming for. That's why copywriters have always been at the top of the creative food chain. If you follow me back a generation or two into the past, copywriters didn't just create advertising. They generated worldwide trends and huge streams of revenue. In fact, defining these campaigns, these advertising campaigns as trends doesn't do their impact justice. They've become permanent fixtures in our way of life, fixtures like making men willingly spend a year of their paycheck on a diamond ring. De Beers, diamonds are forever, anyone? Here's a little known fact. De Beers hoards billions of dollars worth of raw diamonds in their vaults to manufacture the illusion of their worth. The reality is, if all the diamonds that have been mined were put out into the marketplace, they would be worth about as much as a quartz crystal. And what about something you do every single day without thinking? Talking about brushing your teeth. You see, about 100 years ago, a copywriter was tasked with selling this new product, toothpaste. The brand was called Pepsodent, and Claude Hopkins was the copywriter. He was asked to figure out how to sell the idea of brushing your teeth. Yep, it wasn't a dentist who started the idea that we need to brush our teeth. It was a copywriter using a quote-unquote new cause to persuade and inspire people to brush their teeth. That new cause, or a brand new way into the conversation, was film on the teeth. That's it. Something so simple created a trend that we blindly follow today. That's what copywriters can do when they truly understand the power of positioning. But clients weren't necessarily investing in the copy as much as the exposure on the creative. The whole point of advertising was to get clients to buy print and TV media. The more successful and iconic the campaign, the more media clients would purchase. But too many copywriters and agencies today have forgotten something incredibly basic. Clients weren't paying for the actual copy, they were paying for the results. The copywriting was value added to sell the clients on using their agency, and the agencies made their money by charging a percentage of ad spend. That's why agencies went out of their way to hire the very, very, very top copywriters to represent them. Agencies knew it was the copywriter who sold clients on their work, so they would win the business. It was a relationship that worked for everyone. Now, just to be clear, I'm not saying that old school advertising was all sunshine and roses. I mean, let's get real. We're talking about agencies that use doctor testimonials to sell cigarettes with stuff like, "Lucky Strikes are less irritating to the nose and throat." Nice, huh? But what happened with those doctor testimonials? Well, eventually the FTC started sinking its teeth into advertising compliance. They stepped in to establish some level of integrity in marketing as a way of protecting people from deceitful claims. In an ironic parallel of history repeating itself, the same thing that happened to print advertising during the golden age of marketing is happening right now in the digital world. I'm talking about stuff like the offer doesn't matter as long as the copy converts. Fake names and fake voices are totally cool. Swiping is the best way to model new campaigns. You can say or claim whatever you want without substantiation or hardly any backlash. Exhausting campaigns quickly get the most profits, then letting them die. Making up problems that don't really exist just to sell a product that doesn't work. Treating the real people who buy your stuff like they don't really matter. No customer support or any real substance behind the facade of being a real company. The problem is these things do matter. They matter a lot. In fact, they matter now more than ever. Here's what I mean. In the early days of digital marketing, there were simply no rules, much like how there weren't any rules in the golden age of advertising at first either. In other words, advertising at its print and digital peaks was everyone for themselves. Anything goes, no matter how toxic their campaigns were or how bad it made advertising look as a whole. As far as digital marketing goes, the late 90s and early zeros were like the Wild West, but then technology started catching up to our little marketing tricks and strategies, and artificial intelligence began its ascent. Kind of sounds like a Terminator movie, right? The AI I'm talking about are the algorithms that traffic platforms like Facebook and Google spend millions on optimizing every single year. And it's because of this AI that digital marketing and digital marketers are being forced to grow up fast. Why? Well, AI determines what we can say and even how we say it. Rules that are changing by the minute as technology figures us out. Because let's get real. Everyone wants to make the claims they believe will sell their audience on their solution, am I right? But that's not how campaigns thrive for the long term on ice cold traffic, not in 2020. The major traffic platforms aren't interested in letting business owners scare their users with vicious hooks and fear-mongering, fear-oriented messaging. Which kind of leads me to why I have a vendetta with some of these big digital marketing agencies. I call it compliance annihilation. Here's how it played out. These digital advertising agencies have large ad spends, often in the millions per month. Because of these massive ad spends, the traffic platforms allowed them, these agencies, to get away with a compliance annihilation. The agency I briefly worked with was just like this. But even with the unfair advantage of being able to be more aggressive in their copy, these agencies still haven't built very many long-lasting, successful campaigns. The worst part is these non-compliant agency campaigns tend to make it more difficult for lower ad spenders to be compliant. In other words, the little guys are the ones who take the big hit from the agencies that get away with compliance annihilation. It's all very wrong. But things are changing. Big agencies and publishers are getting pinched for their absurd claims, especially in health and finance, like this from Agora. However, once you understand what compliance is, you can maximize your creative boundaries without constantly second-guessing yourself. That means when you know exactly what you can or can't or do or say in your traffic advertising, you're able to maximize how effective your marketing can be. You're expanding the boundaries of compliance by understanding compliance deeply. Does that make sense? So now it's our turn to return the favor and give AI what it wants in a way that connects with real people and their real life problem. Now, during the course of my copywriting career, I've been constantly developing a new copy and conversion system. A system grounded in the psychology behind how people tell stories instead of just trying to blindly connect with avatars and generic emotions or circumstances. Because the more specific you can get in your copy and advertising, the better of a chance you have to get people to see themselves in your messaging. So let's get specific. I discovered at a very young age that if the message connects with people, connects with their story, you can get them to buy just about anything. Now, as a 10-year-old boy, I found this out the hard way. My mom took my brother and I from our upper middle class lifestyle in San Diego to opening a healing retreat on the island of Maui in Hawaii. But something happened. The day we got there, the owner of the property that my mom invested her life savings in broke the contract. And without the means to fight him legally, we were instantly made homeless the day we arrived on Maui. And we remained homeless for the next 4 years or so. That first night on Maui, we ended up in the Iao Valley. My mom shacked up with the lodge manager, Lee Hayden, and my brother, who was on meth, disappeared into the night. I was all by myself looking for just a place to sleep in the dark, very wet jungle. To say it was scary would be a gross understatement, but then something happened. I looked around. Where I was, I saw an abundance, and I do mean an abundance of tropical fruit. It was everywhere. So I harvested the fruit, and I asked the lodge manager, Lee, if I could sell it at the entrance of the property. He agreed, but I mean, he was shacking up with my mom, so he kind of needed to. There I was, a 10-year-old boy, trying to sell fruit so my family could eat. But what amazed me was this. People would pay me $20 for a single piece of fruit, just because I would tell them stories about where I picked the fruit. I discovered that when you give people the chance to see and imagine themselves doing exactly what you're talking about, well, it almost forces them to connect with you. And once that authentic connection takes place, you can guide them to, well, anywhere you want, really. That's when I started checking out books at the library about heuristic psychology. Yeah, at just 10 years old, I was a 4th grade dropout who was self-educated, and in a fit of survival, I dedicated myself to understanding how to connect with people. Now, I was drawn to heuristics because of its primal way of creating connections, seemingly from out of nowhere. That's the level of connection you need from your campaigns that financially thrive today and well into the future. And since heuristics is the science of symbols and association, I instantly saw its unbelievable persuasion power. It's the science of how people see themselves in the world. And it all comes down to empathy, which is built into our biology in the form of mirror neurons. Heuristic symbols tap into these mirror neurons and create massive engagement with people. Of course, you have to use the right symbols and associations so people can feel the genuine value behind what you're communicating. That's why when I started writing copy, I took the same basic heuristic premise and adapted it to digital marketing. I call it heuristic copywriting. The backbone of heuristic copywriting is a very specific set of elements, starting with mechanism, new cause, and positioning. Mechanism is how it works for me. This is critical to invite your prospects to, suspend their disbelief and become immersed in your messaging. New cause is the hidden core reason for your audience's problems. It's also the reason why nothing else worked up until this point. And positioning is where you enter the conversation of the problem you can help people solve, so we can get the most people raising their hands. We should always aim to enter at the highest point of people's decision-making emotion. It's this heuristic model that has allowed me to produce millions upon millions of dollars in profits for my clients across virtually every marketing space. In essence, I make people think about your solution when they can genuinely benefit from your offer. Just like a thirsty soda drinker typically thinks about Coke when they crave cola. The question is, do you want your product to be the Coca-Cola of your marketplace?